What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Some interesting stuff to talk about today. I like seeing Valkyria Chronicles making a return, which is awesome. Love seeing that announced. We're going to go over that a little bit here today. And then we found out on the UK sales charts, well, looks like maybe some of the outrage around Battlefront 2 took a toll on the sales. We're going to take a look at that and other stuff today. Let's get started. So the other day, after having a teaser site go up where people were kind of trying to figure out, is Valkyria Chronicles coming back? If you don't know, Valkyria Chronicles released back in 2008 on the PS3, came out, was doing pretty well in Japan overall, but just completely just flopped everywhere else, especially in the States where it did not sell well at all, but in Japan it did okay. And then it did really well when a little later on they actually ended up cutting the price the year after in 2009, and then it really took off when it hit Steam. So a few years later when it touched Steam, it got into like the top sellers chart on Steam, and to this day it's topped it's very close to 1 million units sold. But you may not be familiar with this series. I'm going to go over it very quickly with you. It actually takes place in there, from what they're doing here, it's going to be in the same setting for Valkyria Chronicles 4, same setting as the first one, where it's going to take place kind of in a World War II setting in Europe. And what's really neat about this game, if you've never played it, it's kind of like a tactics-based RPG, third-person shooter. It's very hard to describe because there's really no other game that's at all like it. It's pretty cool. It's a neat idea. Now, I played it back on the PS3, the first one, and it was okay. I didn't really get as into it. Then I bought it on Steam, and I got more into it, but it kind of lost me at times. However, I will give this one a bit more of a chance, and it's coming to the PS4, the Xbox One, strangely, and the Nintendo Switch. What's interesting here, though, is the Xbox One version is not actually coming out in Japan. It'll release, I'm sure, in Europe and then in the United States, but it's not coming out at all in Japan. And I think this happened because SEGA took a look at the Sonic Forces numbers, and they said, yeah, probably not. More than likely ahead of time they even made that judgment call, since, I mean, the Xbox One is just over 80,000 units in Japan, and we saw Sonic Forces didn't even touch the charts, as we wouldn't expect it to, right, in Japan on the Xbox One, considering the Switch and the PS4 got like 6,000 and like 5,000 for two systems that make up almost 8 million systems at this point. It's not good to get just over 10,000 units sold. So yeah, no point in bringing over a game like a JRPG like that, where it goes further than a JRPG, right? A tactics-based third-person shooter RPG. It's not really there for the Xbox crowd, and there's no point in really bringing it out in Japan when no one's probably going to buy it, to be realistic, on the Xbox One over there. However, I do think this one has a chance, Valkyria Chronicles 4, mostly because the last couple, they weren't the best, especially the last one, Valkyria Revolution. That came out and it wasn't very good at all. It got terrible receptions pretty much. Came out on the PS4, the Vita, and and the Xbox One. It just didn't do anything. It got 4 out of 10s, 5 out of 10. And then the third one that was on the PSP, the third one on the PSP, that one didn't even make it out of Japan. So this seems to be something that SEGA has been looking at. According to them, it's been in development for years. They wanted to get back to the roots, as they said. And this is going to take place at the same time as the first one, just with different people. So they want to kind of elaborate more on that story, I guess, around different characters. And sure, it could be really cool. Nothing about a PC release, which kind of confused me because that's where they've done the best. Very odd to see that. However, the fact that it's coming to the Switch is pretty cool, and then of course it's going to go on the PS4 and sell well there. The Xbox One support kind of leaves me scratching my head, but hey, I'm sure it'll sell something in Europe and then something in the United States, and I get why it's not even in Japan on the Xbox One. Either way, look for it to release sometime in 2018, no specific date, and if you just want to try the series out to see what it's all about, really, go check it out on Steam. It's $20, and I bet you during the winter sale even, it'll probably drop lower than that. I've seen it as low as like $7 or $8 during sale, so if you just want to try it out, for the price of a movie, there you go. Go try it out on Steam. It doesn't even need a very powerful computer to play it. It can probably play on some integrated graphics cards now, like HD 620, I think is what they're on now. Things like that. It would probably play fine. Next up, let's talk about the UK sales charts. And believe it or not, when Battlefront 2 was coming out, I completely expected it to top these charts, despite all the outrage, despite the controversy, and despite Call of Duty WW2 being very popular. I still thought seeing Battlefront showing up, Star Wars is on it, maybe a week before all the controversy really picked up steam and caused EA to shift their entire strategy, I still thought it would top the charts. And then we got closer and closer. They changed everything, put out a statement saying they were wrong. At that point, I think we all knew it was going to struggle in the first week or two of sales, and it has. It did not top the sales charts in the UK, which is crazy to me. Here's the deal. It is down, and I'm not even kidding. It is down 61%. That's right, 61% in sales from the original Battlefront 1 that released a few years ago. It is down a significant amount. I think if it matched the original Battlefront sales, like they were kind of expecting, like the budget is calling for, they would have easily topped the charts over Call of Duty, no problem. But no chance here, and it looks like people are having an effect. In fact, if you take this game and compare it to Battlefield 1 last year's sales the first week, down 50%. So the Star Wars name at this point means less to gamers than the Battlefield name. That should tell you a lot right there, how much they've messed this up. That should not be the case at all. Star Wars should sell more than Battlefield. They're very similar games in terms of what they are, first-person shooter with large-scale battles. Star Wars should sell. It has the name. It's not, though. So it's going to be a recovery period at this point. I think we all know that. I don't think they're expecting to do well for a little while now. And they might, I'm not even kidding, they might have to drop the price after Christmas time. $30, maybe down to $30, because they have a serious expectation of roughly 13 to 14 million to sell by the end of March. So EA has now felt it in the sales as much as gamers probably wanted them to. I just don't think they can bring back the microtransactions in the same capacity. I'm not saying go buy it if you're against it because you just expect that, but the less people buy this game, the more it falls down the charts and the more the concurrent player count goes down, the more they're going to have to rethink that microtransaction when they bring it back, and maybe just cosmetics. But here, let's take a look at the rest of the charts. So as I said, the first two here, Call of Duty WW2, number 1, Star Wars Battlefront 2, number 2. FIFA 18 is dropped down to 3. It was at number 2. The two new entries below that, handheld games, Pokemon Ultra Sun. Pokemon Ultra Sun is what they printed here twice. It should be Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. No idea why the sales charts here on GameIndustry.biz decided to plaster the sun on there twice. Very weird. Anyway, I'm also very curious to see where it would have placed if they added those sales together, considering it's 4 and 5, and that actually outpaces Origins, either one of them. Number 6, as you see, Assassin's Creed Origins down from number 3. Sims 4 right there is actually a new entry. LA Noire Remastered, I think that's just any LA Noire Remaster at that point. They didn't divide it up. Mario Odyssey drops down to number 9 from number 6, and then Lego Marvel Super Heroes 2, actually surprisingly, at number 10. If you're curious where Skyrim places, Skyrim VR was number 19, whereas Skyrim on the Switch was number 26. So neither of those got anywhere close to the top 10. As I'd expect, it was this entire week was ruled by Pokemon, Call of Duty, and Battlefront 2. Even though Battlefront 2 is down, it's still sold well, right? I mean, it's not like it's like they're scrounging for money. They still made something, just not as much as they should have, is all I'm saying. Next up, let's talk about Square Enix. They had a big Q&A with their investors, as most companies do, and they answered a lot of questions. One seemed to be about what's going on with your big releases. Where are they? I think you're usually talking about Kingdom Hearts, right? We know it's coming next year. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake, something we've really heard nothing about. Now, Square did come out and say, hey, we're going to make some announcements before E3, but after our fiscal year ends. That tells me it's going to be somewhere in April to June. Somewhere in that time period, we're going to get release dates according to Square for their big titles. Again, big titles being, I assume, to be Final Fantasy VII Remake and Kingdom Hearts. I expect a year for Final Fantasy VII Remake, not necessarily a specific date, because remember, that's going to be episodic, so it's going to be several release dates for Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's not going to be all at once, but Kingdom Hearts absolutely needs a lockdown specific date. This is when it's happening. This is when it's coming out, because we're getting close, and people need to start planning out, right? They need to start figuring out where they want it to fall in which fiscal quarter, what they want it to compete with, and really when we should know to go get it, right? Or maybe if there's a special edition, when to go pre-order that. But outside of that, they also talked about the Nintendo Switch. And I'm actually going to read this quote to you guys saying, Nintendo Switch is seeing rapid uptake and we welcome the arrival of such a platform. We intend to be proactive in our development efforts given that it's a platform that is well suited to the mid-sized titles at which we excel. We base our development resource allocations on the unique attributes of each platform. In particular, Nintendo Switch makes it easier for us to leverage our back catalog of assets and expertise. So we want to be proactive in creating new IP and rebooting past titles for that platform. So this is actually kind of interesting, because while they say mid-sized titles, and they also talk about their backlog, which they have they have a massive catalog of games, right? I mean, you know what? Name some games, guys, down in the comments that you would like to see be rebooted, maybe coming to the Switch. Honestly, they could put Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10. They could put all those on there. Like, I'm sure most of us believe they will at some point, especially something like a 7. Why is Final Fantasy 7 not there? I don't know if they have something going on with Sony, although they did put it on the PC. But that would be that's a slam dunk right there to get some easy sales on the Switch. But there's a lot of stuff you could look at. I asked around, I put on Twitter. Some people said Chrono Trigger. Actually, a lot of people say Chrono Trigger, which would be cool to kind of get back into that series. I don't know if they want to go back to that, but it would be cool if they did, because the way Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger, there's a nice little time period between that they could do that, since Chrono Cross takes place more in the future, or they go before Chrono Trigger. There's a lot of stuff they could do with that. That series. Of course, we also got the rumored World Ends With You 2 that apparently is in development of some kind. That actually makes sense, since it's kind of been lying dormant for a little while. I also had people say things like, how about Valkyrie Profile? Sure, that would be cool. I don't mind that one. So really, I'm curious what you guys think and what you would want to see come over the Switch from either their current catalog or maybe some games that we've forgotten about, right? Something like that. I mean, I saw someone say Breath of Fire. I think it was Evan said Breath of Fire. Sure, yeah, I'd bring that. I'd bring them all. Seriously, I love RPGs. Square has some awesome games that have been kind of lying dormant for a while. And even kind of bring them up into like a Project Octopath setting like that, where it'd be considered like a AA game, you know, like a AAA. Something like that, I would buy it like crazy. That'd be awesome. Next up, let's talk about Animal Crossing, the Pocket Camp game that's on the mobile systems. Now, if you didn't know, it's not actually out yet. There's a lot of people who are playing it already because it's super easy to install and it works fine. If you're on, say, an iPhone, I believe you have to change your location settings, or you play around setting and then you could download it. If you're on Android, it's very easy. You just load an APK file and it installs. That's it. You just go online, download it, load it up, and you're in. So people have already been playing it like crazy. But if you're not one of those people, maybe you wanted to wait for an official release from Nintendo, November 22nd it will be out. So it's going to be out pretty soon. Tomorrow it'll be out. So you can download it tomorrow. It'll be Wednesday, the 22nd. And I guess get in the game with everyone else that's already been playing for quite a while. But either way, pretty cool to see it showing up now. We already knew it. We knew it wasn't going to be long. They said like next month or something. So, yep, the 22nd, you should be able to download it on your iPhone or your Android device. And in our last bit of news, Time Magazine released their top 10 gadgets of 2017. And interestingly enough, the Switch was number 1. Now, they also had the iPhone X on there. They had a Sony camera, from what I saw, was also on there, and the Microsoft Surface tablet was also part of that list, and the Super Nintendo Classic was as well. Now, I don't know if anyone told them. I'm more than happy to let them know. Super Nintendo Classic was exactly the same as NES Classic, just flash different OS and ROMs, but hey, I guess the fact that the controller is awesome on it, and it has some really good Super Nintendo games, including the unreleased Star Fox 2, and everybody wants it, sure, yeah, I guess it could be one of the top 10 gadgets 2017. Interestingly enough, the Switch is up there. Now, when I looked at the list, I thought about it, and I said, well, the Switch is the most unique system or unique gadget from that company's library, any company. I mean, the iPhone X is still considered an iPhone, right? The Surface tablet is still considered a Surface tablet. And the Sony camera is still considered a camera. So the Switch is so different and new. I understand why it would top the charts, but I am a little surprised it went over the iPhone X. I just figured because of the popularity, it would have jumped it. Either way, pretty cool to see. I guess congratulations to Nintendo and the Switch. It's definitely a cool gadget. That definitely is qualified for that list. And you know what? It's great to see it at number 1. It is a cool gadget. If you don't have it, because maybe you're against Nintendo for some reason or something, I still think everyone should just own all the systems. But, you know, it's cool to have. It's a neat blend between home console and handheld, even though I still kind of see it as a handheld whenever I use it. But, hey, cool to see it. Number 1 on Time's Top 10 Gadgets of 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for Newswave. If you're new here, consider subscribing. We do new shows every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Helps in the search results and algorithm and all that fun stuff. But thanks guys for watching. Also, let me know what you think about any of the stuff we talked about today. I specifically want to know what Square game you'd like to see go to the Switch. Are you surprised about Battlefront 2 dropping down in the charts? I was almost positive it would debut at number 1 because it's a Star Wars game that's kind of next to a Star Wars movie coming out, all the marketing. I'm a little surprised, and I do think if it had not been for all the anti-consumerism, all the people really frustrated with it, all the bad publicity, I think it would have topped the charts. It certainly wouldn't have been down 61% at physical retail launch from the first one. That's for sure. But let me know what you guys think about all that stuff. I'm very curious. I'll see you guys next time.